بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون صدق الله العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, listeners and viewers, especially youth and children, we are trying to understand Qur'an, and I've recited the beginning of the third ruku of Qur'an and the ayat 21. So we'll go inshallah step by step through the Qur'an. So this is the ayat 21 of Surah Baqarah. Al-Baqarah, which is the second surah. After Al-Fatiha is the first surah, then the Al-Baqarah. So we are on the ayat 21 of Surah Al-Baqarah. So you take out your Qur'ans and you go along with me, inshallah. We'll try to understand together. So this is mutual study of Qur'an, understanding of Qur'an, and inshallah I'll try to understand myself, and in that way it might help you to understand yourself. This Qur'an is the book, is the constitution, or is the instruction which makes you uplifted. This has come to uplift nations, and those people or those nations who forsake Qur'an after having it, after receiving it, then they have a downfall. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that because of Qur'an some nations are lifted, those who uphold Qur'an they are lifted above. And this is what happened with the Sahaba at the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the first century, which ended about 111 Hijri. That the Sahaba's age was a golden age of Islam. Islam has been with all the prophets, but the golden age of the history of Islam with the Nubuwah is Khatmul Nubuwah, with the Holy Prophet ﷺ's time, and the Holy Prophet's time was the best time, and his best time is the first Qarn, or the first century, which ended until the last Sahabi passed away in 111 Hijri. And after that the second century, so that was second best, and the third best, and after that we are up and down. So we have Qur'an, which is come to make us progress in this life and the next life, to achieve success in this life and the next life. And those people and nations who uphold Qur'an will rule the earth, will inherit the earth, will control the earth, because this earth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing now the humanity. Ya ayyuhan nas. What is an-nas? An-nas min al-jinnati wan-nas. There are two species in an-nas. Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-insi. There are two groups who are accountable, who are responsible, who are liable on the day of accountment, day of judgment, for questioning, and who are responsible to live on this earth with their own free will, God-given free will, under the control of Sharia of Allah. So the Sharia of Allah, or the law of Allah, or Islam, applies to jinns and humans, and they have a choice to accept it or not accept it. But the other species, angels, the non-living things, the material world, the world of animals, the world of insects and birds, they all are Muslim without choice. They have no choice. They are Muslim just because they have to obey the laws of nature. Nature, there is no mother nature. It's a humanly coined word, mother nature, because they did not want to accept any God or true being, so they coined the word mother nature. Who is mother nature? Allah has created the nature, and Allah is the controller of the nature, and Allah is Fatirus Samawat wal Ard. He created the nature and He is controlling the nature, so He is the naturer with an ER. That means He is the one who is in control of the nature. So nature comes from Him. And there is also a hadith that people curse the dahr, the time. And the hadith says that ana dahr, then they are cursing me. I am the dahr, and in my control is the heavens and the earth. So in fact what we say as time is an abstract thing. Time is not a material thing, not a tangible thing. It's a relative. So it's more or less nothing. So but the things which are happening in time are happening because Allah is making them happen. So don't curse the time, because Allah, that curse, what you are cursing, goes to Allah, because Allah is controlling the universe, and He is controlling it in a way that we cannot explain it, and we explained it by the word of time. So time and nature are man-made gods, but in fact Allah is controlling everything. So Allah is addressing the humanity at large, and among the humanity, the humanity An-Nas, so He is not saying mankind basically, because if He said Ya Bani Adam, that means mankind. But here Allah is saying Ya Ayyuhan Nas, O human beings. And human beings also, An-Nas, the word also means human beings. It also means both beings, humans and the jinns. So jinns is a species which is made up of fire, and human is the species made up of earth. And Shaitan, the evil one, Iblis, was made up of Kana min al-jinni. He was made up of jinns. He was from the jinns, and he was made up of fire. So jinns are mukallaf, responsible, accountable on the day of judgment, and humans are mukallaf. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing in fact both of them. And if we apply even that He is addressing humanity, again, if anything applies to humanity, it applies to jinns as well, because jinns have to follow humanity. And in the long course, inshallah, we'll come to understand that the jinns have no leadership or khilafah on their own. They had a khilafah before the human being, and now human beings have the khilafah on this earth. What is khilafah on this earth? Rule of this earth. But Khalifa is not a ruler on his own right, but on behalf of someone's. He rules. So that will be explained in the next ruku, inshallah. But here what we are talking is about An-Nas. Al-Nas, Al means the, Nas means people. What people? Humans, and also can include jinns. So Allah is addressing humans and jinns. U'budu rabbakum. You must worship, obey, and be submissive, and be slave to your Lord, cherisher, the sustainer, the caretaker of the universe, because He's been mentioned in the beginning of Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise goes to Him, Allah, who is cherisher, sustainer, Rabb. Rabb is someone who takes care of a child and brings the child up to adulthood and looks after it throughout. So that is actually the meaning of the word Rabb. So Rabb is actually, there is only one Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because He is absolute Rabb, so there is relatively on a lower level, on a lower scale, we can call other people as well as Rabb. But this word should not be used for any human being anymore. In the previous history, it has been used, and in Arab colloquial as well, they say they sometimes the servant calls his master as Ya Rabb, which the Holy Prophet ﷺ told not to use it. But some Muslims, out of ignorance, they still use it. And in the same way, the word Abd, Abd means slave or worshipper, should not be used for any human being, any person. It should only be used in relation with Allah. When Allah talks about human beings, then we are Abd of Allah, Ibad of Allah, but we are not Ibad of even of each other. So human beings have been taken out of the slavery of humans and each other's slavery and slavery of the universe towards the slavery of the creator of the universe. So the world at large, which are worshipping the powers of nature or the materialistic powers or the unknown powers which they can't explain, they have made cults about them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, no, don't worship these beings, don't worship nature, don't worship the time, don't worship sun, moon, star, don't worship matter. Because there are materialistic people who think that matter was in the beginning and it was all the time and it's infinite. So matter, if those people who say that matter was infinite and has been always there, and they also believe in God, then they are negating God. Because if God and matter were existent all the time, then they are two gods, astaghfirullah. So this is negation of oneness of Allah, tawheed, wahda of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we believe in oneness, monotheism. This is wahda of Allah, ahadiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't believe in the unity of union of Allah, nauz billah. And this unity is a very deceptive word, because some people say we believe in unity and they preach Trinity. They say there are three persons in one God and He's one, He's united, the three are united into one, so that's why we believe in unity. So we Muslims should say no, we don't believe in unity. We don't believe in unification of some beings into one God. No, we believe in the absolute one and only God. So even at the word Al-Ilah, Allah, which is composed of two words, Al and Ilah, the absolute deity, the absolute person to be worshipped, the absolute God, the only God. So Allah would be really straightforwardly translated as one and only God. That actually is the essence of the word Allah. So when you say Allah, that would mean the absolute deity, or the absolute person to be worshipped. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned that He is the Rabb, Rabbul Alameen. All the universes which He has created, and He has created, no one else has created, and He has created all the creation and He is looking after it, He has not left it. Like some people have this strange ideology that God created, He is only the creator, and then He left the system, He put in the system into force and then let it be going on its own. So the universe, according to them, is running its own course according to its own will without any interference by God, Nauzubillah. So this is again negation of God, because God as creator is not separate from the God as controller. So He is in control, and that is the essence of the word Rabb. He is looking after the universe. The universe was a child, He brought it up. First of all, it was not there. It was like you can say before the inception of a child or conception of a child, there is nothing, and then the child is conceived. So it's looked after, it's given food and nourishment, and it's brought up, and it's given milk, and then further it's grown up. So every time it needs looking after, it needs so much look after, and all the forces of nature are helping in looking after the person. But behind the forces of nature, God is looking after. So He is the absolute Rabb. So if you say Al-Rabb, that only applies to Allah, the person to look after the people, the caretaker, the absolute cherisher, the sustainer, the provider of the universe. Again, the provider has another sift, which is Raziq, He is the provider. But bringing up from lower level to higher level, like some people believe in evolution, if there is any evolution of that kind, which apparently what we see is there is, things are getting changed day by day according to their needs. Of course, there is a partial evolution, of course. So once I mentioned, I gave a talk at Birmingham University, Aston University in Birmingham, and I said that God creates and looks after and brings up the creation either by the process of creation as well as evolution. And some people objected, do you believe in evolution? I said no, I don't believe in evolution by Darwin. Darwin's evolution is that the lower species become evolved and automatically themselves they become higher species, and complexities come in from simplicity, and that is done on its own by the needs dictated by the nature and choice of nature. That's a racist ideology, because what it said is that nature chooses some species over others and it discriminates. So the nature chose the black people and then chose among them, they evolved into browns. So browns were chosen out of the blacks to become the higher species, and then the whites were the highest of the species. So that was actually Victorian time. Darwin mentioned that theory brought that helped Victorianism, and that helped later on all the World War I and World War II, in which if you see the documentaries and see do the research, you will find out that the ideologies behind this warmongers and even the warmongers of today, they are dominated by the philosophy of Darwinism, that human beings have to struggle, survival of the fittest. We have to fight to win our place. So that is actually negation of God. So that evolution I don't believe in. But there is an evolution that things are adapted to the situation, to the circumstances. That kind of is also done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah creates and Allah evolves. So if you take out Allah from evolution, that's kufr, and if you put Allah put evolution in the hand of Allah, that's all right. So Allah creates, and creation is also, or different steps of creation are also called creation. Inshallah, in the Quran is mentioned that Allah creates